come to our next topic, and that concerns the PSX. The Pakistan Stock Exchange went to on a high, crossed 54,000 as the buying spree continued, and that showed a very positive outcome as far as Pakistan Stock Exchange is concerned. This spree has been going on since quite some time. In fact, in the 54,000 crossing happened in around 12 noon today, and that is a very positive outlook as far as the sentiment is concerned in the market. And when you talk to different businessmen who are part of that stock exchange, this is what they say, that they are optimistic in the direction that the government has been taking in the last few months and the last few weeks especially, and they see a lot of positivity emanating in the coming times as well. We've been joined by Dr. Usman Chohan, who's an economist and a regular in our shows as well. Usman, thank you very much to have joined us. Usman, in your point of view, what have been the key factors for the PSX to have gained such an extraordinary number in intraday trade today?
Thank you very much. I believe that the most important thing, aside from the factors that you listed, is that the PSX as a whole was very undervalued relative to its potential. Stock markets are always driven by a degree of sentiment, and the sentiment has improved so much lately that you're seeing a correction in the valuation. And I'll give you a more quantitative answer on that. If you look at all of the countries that form a part of the MSCI Frontier Markets Index, in which Pakistan is a part, a significant part, the third largest in fact, the most undervalued in terms of the price earnings ratio among the countries in the Frontier Market Index was Pakistan, the most undervalued. So the more this increases now, the more it will come in terms of the norm for this index. So sentiment has improved so much recently that you are seeing an important correction, essentially. That's one other factor.
All right, but do you feel that this increase in the KSE 100 index is going to be steady, is going to further increase in the coming days? Do you also feel that the way the government has been taking important steps to curtail smuggling, from whether it be Afghan transit trade, whether it be the dollar smuggling, whether it be the way it is also, overseeing a lot of nefarious activities that had been going on in the country, are also one of the reasons why the economy of Pakistan is stabilizing. Also, the IMF seems to be very content with Pakistan, doesn't it?
Absolutely. All of the factors that you've just highlighted are an important set of factors in driving sentiment. You're absolutely right. And the more of the positivity see on the measures that you have enumerated, the likelier the sentiment is like to increase, which will be better for the PSX. And there is still a gap in terms of the median for the Frontier Markets Index and where Pakistan is. So there's still a gap to be corrected. And all of the measures you mentioned in terms of the transit trade or in terms of the smuggling or in terms of giving positive signs is good. And then additionally, you're also correct that the targets that were stipulated for this portion of the review with the IMF have been met. So this is a very good foundation on which to talk seriously with the IMF and say, look, we've met these targets. Now what's next? And what's next? And so we can finally stabilize, eventually not requiring the IMF as over this journey further down the road.
Let's hope that that's something I'm looking forward to as well. Usman, when you look at the economy, the investors are a very important part and parcel of it. The more they invest, the more they want to come to Pakistan, whether they be in Pakistan or from other countries. Their investment means a lot for the strengthening of Pakistan's economy in different sectors, of course. What are the factors that Pakistan needs to adopt to soothe the investment concerns, in your point of view?
Well, I think the most important things are already being done, which is very positive, which is to provide the floor to say that things are only going to get better from here. So that floor being presented is the important thing. Now, in terms of having a larger volume of investors coming in and investing for the long term, I think there's some work to be done on the ease of doing business criteria, and it's a very long list as a rubric. And if we make steps along that ease of doing business thing, for example, on the regulatory side, side in terms of provision of energy, licenses, repatriation of capital, arbitration, or many factors are involved. If we work a little bit, it's not even that demanding, a little bit on each of those factors, we already become competitive in this region being Asia as a whole. So because the floor was provided, now we have to work a bit more seriously on the factors that comprise the ease of doing business. And I'm sure that the government is now going to go to that step. As we just said, the IMF negotiation part for the next step looks good. These important measures have been taken. You're seeing an important correction in the PSX. So things are now turning around for the better.
And also, Usman, do you feel macroeconomic indicators such as the current account deficit, CPI-based inflation, have they also had a positive impact on the economic outlook in Pakistan?
Yes, I mean, you get this indication also from the state bank and from other important institutions that the worst of what was a global issue, a global downturn, has now gone by. So you'll see better indicators in terms of inflation, and you're also likely to see global exports, our exports to the world, pick up, and you're also likely to see other factors that we look at that were quite strained in the last year improve now. And as I always like to do when we discuss stuff, is to look at it in the larger cycle, and our COVID recovery globally has been uneven. So we're now at a new phase in that where everybody's starting to get a little bit more clarity. You're seeing this, for example, with the US Federal Reserve and other important central banks starting to see a light at the end of the tunnel, which means that we can expect future quarters to go by in a more regularized manner, a little less of the shocks that we've been going through over the past 3 years.
Usman, what are the challenges or risks in your point of view which might affect the stock market in the coming days that we have to look forward to in order or curtail or tackle in the right manner?
One important thing is that we've had a very good last month in terms of signaling that important measures are being taken. And so we were seeing a strengthening of the rupee. We were seeing an improvement in the PSX. Now, there's always this limitation that important players in the market, and our markets aren't very large or deep, so you have a few large players that can thwart its momentum a little bit. If these large players try to undo, which is to say they take the opposite side of the trade, for example, the banks bet against the rupee, or for example, major stock market investors say, okay, that's enough of a correction. If these large players try to swing the thing thinking that it's time to take a little bit off the table because the gains have been strong, then you might see a temporary reversal of momentum. So I think that since there's so much yet to be gained, for example, the undervaluation in the stock market is still so large, or the rupee should really be around 250 at a minimum, or if not even better than that. So I don't want large players to thwart these gains. And that's a very significant factor because our stock market, our capital markets aren't that deep. And our currency has been vulnerable to predation from non-market factors, which the government has been tackling. So I think that breaking that momentum shouldn't happen at this juncture.
Usman, also one of the reports that has come out as far as our economic outlook is concerned recently talks about a significant valuation re-rating across the country in the next 12 months. How is that going to affect our economy?
It's always a big challenge to look at the true picture of an economy or a country as large as ours. And re-rating, therefore, means that the impact of being upgraded or downgraded tends to be a little bit exaggerated. So for example, if we get a downgrading of sovereign rating by, let's say, one agency, the others may follow suit quickly, and suddenly you get this cascading effect on sentiment, which is not accurate. And it works the other way too. When you get one upgrade and then you get the series immediately after, you feel like, wow, things have really cleared up, even if they hadn't. So re-rating often hits any country, but a country like ours in particular, a little bit too strongly. So we should keep our eyes on the prize in terms of having a larger, more inclusive, dynamic economy and not fall prey to the rating, even though their weight can be significant in terms of positive or negative shocks. So that's how I look at ratings, is that personally I don't give them as much weight, but I understand that when we're looking for signs in a complex society or complex economy, our heuristic, our shortcut is to look at any re-ratings to understand things, but we shouldn't give them that much weight. weight, to be honest.
All right. Finally, I mean, I'm going to ask a last short answer from you. You said you need to have an eye for the price. We look forward for the price. What price are you looking for as far as Pakistan's economy is concerned in, say, the next 4 weeks?
In the next 4 weeks, I would like
Okay,
for the rupee.
let's make it more broad. 6 months.
In the next 6 months, I would like to see the rupee strengthen further. I would like to see some good indicators on quarterly GDP or growth in the economy picking up. I would particularly like to see recovery on the exports, remittances, and industrial production. So some more concrete things that give us a sign that the major fiscal and current account deficits have really started to improve. That's the short answer.
All right, wonderful, Usman, and I look forward to all of those prizes as well and more. You know, I tend to be greedy when it comes to Pakistan's economic outlook. Thank you so very much, Dr. Usman W. Chohan, economist, to have joined us and to have talked about the stability that Pakistan is seeing on the economic front, the PSX that rose to 54,000, and that was, of course, a record, and we hope that this record is broken in the coming days as well.